Hello and welcome to the ESL Challenger League Season 47 playoffs. We have made it, we are here, we are at the back end of the season, and this is where fates are really decided. I, of course, am Wolfie, and joining me, as always for the evening, is Dean. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, no, looking forward to this game. It's, as always, a game where there's some question marks. I feel like we always get the games where there's been some recent roster changes and stuff, and it puts a lot of kind of questions on what way either team is going to perform. But I like that. I like the unpredictability of Counter-Strike, and when you throw more crazy factors in it, it always makes for entertaining games at the very least. So I do think we're going to have that ahead of us.
Yeah, we do seem to curse teams a little bit, don't we? We get them, and then suddenly their players are getting poached. I mean, the old Sprout of days, and now it's 9Pandas. But look, before we start getting into the real nitty-gritty of it, we have got to look. Of course, this has been a very, very long season at this point. We've been here a while, so we have got to look at sort of how we got here and how the pieces fell into place to be where we are now. So we've got our first, just to have a look at the groups and see how things started. So Sangal and 9Pandas both starting in Group D, getting separated as they came into Stage 2, but initially facing off against each other. Of course, 9Pandas come out the better of that group, only losing to Koi, who ended up topping the group. Sangal, couple of losses, but again, it was only Koi who topped the group, and then 9Pandas as well. So a little bit of history between these two rosters, but a solid enough start to the season from the pair of them.
Yeah, and it was 9Pandas' victory over Sangal that kind of made the difference, because they were split between second and third place. 9Pandas were able to go into that upper part of the bracket thanks to that victory. So it'll definitely be Sangal looking for a little bit of revenge. And as we mentioned, this time they have maybe a slight advantage in terms of having to practice with their full five lineup that 9Pandas just aren't really going to have, only with maybe a few days so far of actually having Shelfie and also the new coach, of course, in first.
Yep, some big changes, some big changes, but again, we'll leave it for now. It's coming, I promise. So we'll gloss through the Stage 2 stuff, because it really was a bit of a demolition job for 9Pandas, and I think the blood was in the water a little bit at that point. They didn't do too great in the high seed group, got fairly summarily walloped. 2-1 loss against Sinners, a 2-1 loss against Saw as well, straight down into the middle of the playoffs bracket. For Sangal, middle seed group, because they came out third in what was an incredibly stacked Group D, and then they had to fight. They fought the lower bracket, they went all the way through, got a consolidation final forfeit win against Fours, and got us to this playoff bracket. So as we mentioned, obviously the middle seed group of Sangal, and the fact that 9Pandas went so poorly in the high seed group has dropped them straight into the lower bracket. So we are again looking at one of those fairly aggressive lower bracket miracle runs if one of these teams wants to get it done, because it is again an incredibly stacked bracket, right? You got a new look Monty floating around here, Aurora, 3D Max, Movistar, Koi, and Sinners waiting in the second round of that upper bracket. There is a lot of talent across the board here.
Yeah, I mean, there are some certain teams we definitely expected to be here. I mean, the likes of Saw, you'd think, yeah, they're in pretty good form. You'd expect them to be in towards that upper bracket, but really this could be shuffled around anyway, and you would still have amazing games across the board. I think everyone pretty much is in a position where they should be able to give each other some solid competition, and for us, some very enjoyable games.
Well, fingers crossed, certainly. We will have that lower bracket round one coming to you in about 5-10 minutes. Hopefully everyone shows up on time. But now we can really get into it. Now let's start talking about the nitty gritty, right? Let's start talking about the changes, because both of these rosters have made roster changes within the last 2 to 3 months. Obviously, 9Pandas was yesterday, so that is by far the freshest in the memory. They've had their coach poached to go across to VP to replace the outgoing Dastan, I believe. So a big change there. And they've brought in sort of two pieces that go hand in hand when you're talking about a CS roster. They brought in a new coach, and they brought his in-game leader across as well. So Fierce and Shalfie have both come across from Ford, and that's meant that there's no more space for Seized in this roster. So some big changes for the 9Pandas guys. And I mean, that's fundamentally got to affect how they play, right? Coaches influence the playstyle, they influence how you approach the game. And Zoma has been with this roster for a good long while now, especially that core of Glowing, Seized, and Zoma. They've been together for going on 4 years on and off. So a huge incoming change, and then bringing in a completely different style of in-game leader, right? It's sort of the meta now to have a rotating in-game leader, a more aggressive, powerful in-game leader, and less of sort of that tactical mind that sits back and lets the players do the work. And that's what they've brought in with Shalfie. So huge changes.
Yeah, as you mentioned, obviously Sangal, they did make some changes. I think their most recent addition was Samey, more than a month ago or so at this point. So they've had a little bit of time to settle. They've actually had pretty good form within that month as well. I believe their last 4 or so games have been kind of shaky with some losses against the likes of Fnatic and also Saw in there as well. But before that, they had a run over their first kind of 2 or 3 weeks after the addition of Samey where they were able to win 7 best-of-3s in a row. So clearly this is a lineup that meshes well together, and I'm hoping other than those couple of few games that we are going to see a very strong team here showing up today. I believe we do have the schedule to show what games we're actually going to have, not only here but over on the other streams as well today. Of course, with it being the playoffs, there is plenty of Counter-Strike action for everyone to keep up with. You have 3D Max versus Aurora Ritter. I do believe that is one of those upper bracket games that you've definitely got to keep your eye on.
Yep.
3D Max especially, I think, are a team to look at right now.
Oh, very talented bunch of individuals. But I think if you're really talking about matches with, again, a level of intrigue because of roster changes, you got Monty, right? Sunday Young's gone. They brought in Sticko and Hadji to replace a couple of outgoing players. Obviously, again, huge changes there. Paravision, arguably without a fifth at the moment, trying to see sort of where that goes and how they put it together and how they make it work long term. Rumours swirling, of course, that Art Frost might be on radars of certain tier 1 teams that have dropped a bunch of players and have been looking to change things up substantially, but they are just rumours, so I won't comment too much on this. So, I mean, we've got stacked games across the board. Obviously, if you do want to catch one of the other ones, we're on ESL C, so just take the C off, go B, get rid of it entirely, and go straight to the A stream if you want to catch that. But make sure you stick with us, because we have got, I think, one of the most intriguing ones. Obviously, it's lower brackets, so there's a little bit more at stake. Those upper bracket games, it's kind of like, well, you can lose the first one, right? It's not the end of the world. You get another chance, you get another redemption shot. For these two teams, this is it. If it goes wrong here, good night, get ready for next season and go again.
Yeah, it's like when you see a cat jumping off something kind of higher, like it's grand. They have more lives anyway, so.
Well, we have got the veto, which of course is also going to play a big part of this, because when we talk about Shalfie and Fierce, we talk about them coming in yesterday. How much influence have they had on this veto? And as we rattle it off, some of it makes sense. There's some punishments in there. So Sangal go for the Dust 2 ban. Not usually their perma, but it's not one either of these teams have played a whole bunch of, so fair enough. Vertigo ban, absolutely expected. Mirage pick, again, not traditionally a top pick for Sangal, but it is a massive punish. They've been 5-map winning streak. They look hot as anything on it. For 9Pandas, it's not been great. So let's get that there right away. Nuke then comes out for the 9Pandas, which, again, isn't a map they normally pick a ton of the time, but clearly they've seen something. Clearly they've got some ideas on how they want to play it, so they're going to go there. Second string of bans, then we get the usual perma ban for Sangal. Inferno goes out the way. And if you're 9Pandas and you're tossing it up between Ancient and Anubis, you probably end up on Anubis, because Sangal traditionally first pick to Ancient. So it's a fairly balanced veto, and I think for 9Pandas it kind of feels a little good, if I'm honest, because everyone can play Mirage, right? You don't need an in-game leader with a strata book that's incredibly deep to be able to play a halfway solid Mirage. So they've got that. Then they get to go towards Nuke, which is a brave decision, I'll say, but we'll see how it pans out. And again, Anubis is a very, very sort of one of those puggy maps, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, at least in terms of, as you mentioned before, they're bringing a new in-game leader, a new coach. They haven't had a lot of time, but they will have a basic idea of what sort of maps they want to play. And they're probably going to have a very different approach, so it's hard to really judge based just on these statistics. But as you were saying, Mirage, it's a good map for fraggers. They brought in another good fragger in regards with Shalfie coming through as well, so I think firepower-wise, they could definitely have an edge there on Mirage. I think Nuke, though, might be a little bit up in the air. I'm presuming that they have something up their sleeve, because there's got to be a reason that they went in for that pick, because they definitely wouldn't have in the past.
Yeah, there absolutely has to be. And it may well be this man. I mean, we've name dropped him about a dozen times in this opening 10-minute segment, so I think it's pretty obvious who our Kidia player to watch was going to be coming into this. It's going to be Shalfie, right? We talk about how Seized played the game, how Seized looked at the game. He wasn't that high-flying fragger anymore. He very much was that tactical mind that sat back and let his pieces do the work, and he had some mighty good pieces to do it. For Shalfie, he feels like the new breed of in-game leader, right? He wants to get stuck in. He wants to be fragging. He wants to be involved. And that will bring a very different complexion to this 9Pandas side, both in how they call the games and both even how they position the individuals, right? You've got to imagine he's going to be playing some very different roles, some very different ideas to how Seized was looking to play those maps. So he is going to be the man to watch out for. And I think realistically, he's probably going to be the difference maker that makes or breaks this so far, this tonight. Because, well, It has to be, right? It's a brand new in-game leader. It's brand new systems. All of the other individuals, we know them. They're known quantities. They're very, very solid players. But what makes or breaks them as a unit is how they mesh together with the in-game leader.
Exactly, and I'm excited to see. It can be sometimes when you bring in new players, if everything doesn't mesh immediately, it can be kind of demotivating. But a lot of the time, it's very rejuvenating, I suppose. Everyone getting to try something new, getting to just put themselves in a bit of a new environment, and also just a lot of the time making friends with a new person can kind of bring a new spirit to the team, I suppose, that wouldn't have been there before when things might have been in a bit of a rust. So I'm excited to see how they mesh here in these early games. As you said, I think it was only yesterday, was it, the actual additions were made official, so we don't even know if they had any time before that to practice or anything. But we won't have to keep questioning for much longer, because I do believe we've had it confirmed that within the next couple of minutes we are going to be going in game. So don't get too impatient. We're just about there. With that, I guess we can have a little bit of a discussion about what way we think this game is actually going to go, now that we know the maps that we're going to be sitting on. Wolfie, what team are you looking to be the favourite here?
Oh, I tell you what, I said before this, and I do stand by it. I do think 9Pandas have got it in their back pocket, but the veto does frighten me a little bit. The fact they've gone for that nuke pick, which is not a bad map by any standards for Sangal, does make me nervous. I do just think, though, you look at the amount of firepower this 9Pandas roster has got, you look at some of their recent results, some of their runs, what they've been able to achieve, and it just feels like this should be a step too far for Sangal. But I know you've got some different opinions on it.
Yeah, I think if this was a normal day, if this was a week from now and we'd have had maybe a little bit more time for 9Pandas to mesh, I'd go with them for certain. But I think at the moment I'm more in kind of a like, well, there's too many questions for 9Pandas. Sure, they definitely can win this game, but I'm going to go with Sangal. I feel like they've had really good form lately, apart from their last couple of games, as I had said, like, what, 7 best of 3 is won over the space of a couple of weeks, and that was not long after having their own edition of Samey. So I feel like they've also got a lot to prove, a lot to show, and with this being the lower bracket, they don't really want to be losing. So I think we're going to see absolutely everything given by both of these teams right now, and when you've had that extra month or so of practice, you just have a little bit more in the back pocket when things really do get down and dirty.
Well, you said it. It's time for these two teams to prove themselves, and it is going to be Mirage, our first battleground of the evening. Of course, the map pick of Sangal, so almost immediately they're bumped over to the T side of things. And with a good amount of utility available as well, it looks like they're going to go straight into a B execute, which Glowing, well, he is ready for this. He is watching for it, gets the initial spot, only sees one, but the footsteps will now give the game away. Glowing with a very swift headshot to open things up, and those flashes essentially null and void off the back of it. Sangal just looking a little nervous as they look to drop into this site. Shalfie opens his account as xCloud and LNZ trying to do a little bit of damage to bring this one back. Shalfie stuck inside of the site, does go down, and this one, well, it gets a bit sketchy now. I disbalance and Clax. A pair of dual Berettas to try and get this retake going. Nice shot to open it up. Both players, xCloud and Jota, stuck inside of this site for now. It's a game of timings. One spotted, second towards the back bench, but the double peek is good. And for Clax, this feels like surely an impossible mission. Now one works his way towards short, one plays the site, and Sangal have their pistol.
Yeah, I mean, that may have been a fraudulent slip, but it fit perfectly for what they were dropping into. They lost the first couple players, of course, trying to come out of the apartments. They needed some hero plays, and as you said, they dropped into the site and somehow were able to turn things around. What a start from Sangal. Honestly, it looked great. Glowing didn't hit the initial shot, but he got the early info, fell back to the second angle, took the kill, fell back again, and they had them perfectly baited in towards that setup, but sometimes that's just not enough. The Glocks, they came out on top, and well, we've got a full eco coming in this round now from 9Pandas, so I don't expect too much to come true. Maybe a kill or two. That's got to be their goal. If they can drop some of these rifles, that would be perfect. It is a heavy investment, rather, from Sangal. They've gone straight to the rifles, but only a couple of Galils and Mach 10 in there as well. So they're playing long term. They know those rifles are likely to come out in round number 3.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Could have seen the force maybe coming in from 9Pandas. Got a decent amount of cash in that pocket, but ultimately they want the rifles, they want the utility, they want the best chance of winning these rounds. So you do something a little cheeky, right? You go, fine, we're going to stick 5 on B. If you go A, is what it is. The round's gone. If you go B, maybe we'll get a couple of those kills. Maybe we'll be able to strip away a rifle or two to save into the next. But unfortunately for 9Pandas, they have gambled the wrong site, and the day is cleared out by Sangal. They'll be left just holding their guns in their hands, wondering what on earth has happened. And it's one of those rounds. Really nothing more to talk about than that. You can start talking about the weather, your plans for the weekend, whatever you really feel like, because nothing more is going to happen. We'll see the USPs probably go for a wander out short here, where LNZ is ready and waiting. He's got some industrial farming equipment as he'll look to get some damage. Does take a dink almost instantly, which is going to make things a little more awkward. xCloud called in reserve, but there we go. LNZ does start to farm up his cash, and that's realistically all this is about now. Klax has killed Shalfie in amongst the mayhem, so his new in-game leaders get a bit of a harsh treatment. And Sangal, yeah, 2-0. Expected, all 5 alive.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't put any investment into that round, so I don't think they can beat themselves up too much for not being able to get anything out of it. They also took that risk, of course, coming into the start. It's much better than just sitting around than a default with those USBs trying to take 1v1s, even if the risk, of course, didn't pay off this time. I do think we might need to see some more risks being thrown out now, though, because they're pretty limited on utility, and it looks like Sangal are actually going to go straight in towards this A execute, realizing that, and also maybe being aware of the fact that they'll be limited on things such as kits as well. So this is going to be interesting. Klax has the timing on the push towards Palace. He actually has backup as well on this, but it's not going to be necessary. Gets that initial kill, and with the help of Itis Balance, it's up for 9Pandas early on in this round. And look at this position from the Ledes. They have no idea. They should be at least 1 kill pretty much for free. Ooh. Although they are being cautious. They know there was an early push towards Palace. Now they've got the initial kill, rather. Just don't expect them again. Denying that bomb plant, but it's still somehow come down to a 1 versus 1.
Shalfie's got to rotate in from short as well, so there's a little bit of time available here for xCloud. Start to reset his position. Chooses to tuck under dark. Doesn't want to take too many risks on. He's been a hero in this round so far. 3 kills to the good. Looking for the quad. It is going to be all on the timing, though. Shalfie drop. Heard. xCloud now perfectly positioned. And there's so many angles for Shalfie to consider. Looks for the clear, and xCloud is having none of it. A quad kill as he walks through the site, waltzes into CT, and then smashes his way through the clutch. 3 up for Sangal. The first rifle buy, despite losing that early presence in Palace, works out absolutely beautifully, and it is really all on xCloud's shoulders. So many kills, so many impact moments as well. Able to trade out his teammates' death beautifully. 7-0 on the board. And well, for 9Pandas, it's ugly. They're down to the pistols. MP9 in the hands of Klax.
The utility tossed up mid actually does some decent damage. Might help those pistols in the long run, but they're going to need miraculous plays here if they want to clutch victory out of this round, and it's not looking incredibly likely already with that initial kill for Sangal. They've got mid control. It will force some responses, as you can see here, elsewhere in towards the ramp with the aggression, but there's no one here on the other side. The idea was to maybe catch one player, perhaps steal a rifle, and see what they could do with that. Instead, Connect are taken over by Sangal. They've got short as well, and with a player in apartments, it looks like the B split is going to be the plan. Perhaps just leaving Linus there to cut off rotations if possible. He's going to weigh out the smoke, I presume. A little bit of damage already done. They know there's one on Van. He's gotten baited and somehow survived it, but it forced them into the open either way as the AKs start to clean up against these opponents that really just didn't have the weaponry for the challenge.
Yeah, it's a farm. I think 9Pandas will be a bit disappointed, in all honesty, to get absolutely nothing out of it. You can see the damage. xCloud down to 11 HP. Would have hoped with that kind of a half buy to be at least taking a couple rifles away from the situation. Not able to do so, and it's going to put them in a really rough spot coming into this one. Some big decisions to make. Itis Balance on that AWP has had a little bit of impact, not as much as you perhaps would have liked to have seen. Samey getting his out as well over on the T side of things. So the ball firmly in Sangal's court at the moment. They're playing a blinding Mirage. We expected it. We said this is the punish pick, and well, their T side is off to a rip-roaring start so far. Question is, what's the response from 9Pandas? Initially looking to get that AWP boosted, trying to get some kind of angle to work with. They've sent Shalfie, again seeing perhaps how that new in-game leader wants to play it, into the ladder room early, trying to get some impact out of him. Nothing to be seen so far. Dilladez just toying with the idea of a connector peek, but the smoke keeps him honest. And for Sangal, while they group up towards a sparsely occupied B site, it is a game of timings right now. Well-placed smoke from Glowing buys a couple more precious seconds, and Shalfie catches the timing. Sangal's hero incumbent goes down. xCloud is lost, and some decisions to make for Sangal. They wanted to pump this B site early. The smoke actually exists in towards the market window, but it's not going to be tested just yet. They've left one man youngster to lurk in towards under. And instead, they're going to wander late out of middle. 50 seconds still on the clock, so some time to play with. But if they go towards that A site at the moment, it is heavily occupied.
Did Deledes push his way all the way through under and currently has, as you can see, Youngster trapped in the B apartments? That's going to be an issue as they look to have only a single player out of apps that time, and looked like it was spot on, but apparently not. Instead, there is going to be 3 players barreling way up short. Glowin has to try and put a stop to this, but with the assistance from apartments, it doesn't look like it's going to be much of a challenge at all. The Molly, if anything, maybe just gives him a little bit of cover to go ahead and play with those fights. He gets one more to add to his tally, leaving only Linus now, and, well, he's already, of course, caught by the player in the apartments and that rotation that had been delayed for massively. They held them on short. They allowed 2 more players, I believe, to get into towards kitchen. So they had 3 different angles to worry about. They pushed their way up short. Pretty much impossible. Things were slowed down just way too much, and, well, that's how we needed 9Pandas to come alive. Unfortunately, considering they hadn't done any damage in those rounds before, it's going to be Sangal who keep the pressure on for now, and if they can get a bomb plant, maybe even for one more round, even with a couple players maybe left on weaker weapons. So it's a chance for 9Pandas to come alive, but 1 or 2 more in a row is what they need to really start solidifying their grasp on this game.
I think realising that, they're looking to switch up the CT side as well. Xiaofi, who else wants to go for a bit of a peer towards top mid, does need some supporting util here because Sammy is primed and at the ready. He overextends even slightly. Xcloud also lying in wait. Game of timings here. He can hear all of these footsteps. He knows it's coming. He knows the peak is in. Oh, so close, but the timing on the flashbang is inch perfect. Deledes enabling his new in-game lead for a quick double right as Sangal looked to get the push going. That's bombed down at top mid as well. Not really in a position it can be held by the CT side, but the recovery mission is going to take time. LNZ has to bail out of the B apartments almost entirely, and again, Sangal just find themselves a little bit hamstrung with a minute left on the clock. They've lost that opening engagement. They've lost the opening control they wanted to go for, and now it starts to look a little one-dimensional. It's going to be a 3-man hit into A. But with Klax and Dilledes well placed to deal with it, Idis balance on a fast rotation if he wants to get out of jungle into CT. Realistically expect here. Jota well gets a lot of damage. Klax burning alive, but he finds safe haven from the flames, gets his double. And, well, Jota, your position's known, and there's 5 crosshairs waiting for you. It'll be Idis balance who gets the kill, but realistically it could have been anyone. 9Pandas starting to find their feet on the CT side of Mirage.
Yeah, I was going to say, there we go. Just a couple of rounds for them to get warmed up and start to feel comfortable with each other. And as you said, I like what we're seeing from Shao. Willing to take the risks himself. He goes for those pushes. Even if he only got 1 kill and maybe doesn't further damage, he would have at the very least had the info then as the in-game leader to make the calls if he got traded for what his teammates need to do in reaction. So it can be a good playstyle. It is one that perhaps entails a little bit more risk. It's nice to see those sort of plays on the CT side of Mirage as well. Sometimes teams can be a bit complacent. See what other ideas they have to show us. Idis Balance wants to not exactly take this peek deep into the apartments, but he is up and purged for now, and he might have a challenge soon enough. Other than that, though, it's a fairly passive default. 1 player. They've also probing at a ramp. Unfortunately, they're already going to lose that challenge over in the B apartments. Xcloud goes down, and, well, let's see what that forces now out of Sangal, because I do believe Jota doesn't really want to take that fight anymore towards the apartments. He's fallen back, heading towards under, I believe, to maybe reassess and see if there's any middle control to be taken.
Yeah, it's a nice idea for Sangal. Get your best player, get him a rifle, get some damage, but the one angle you really don't want to be wandering into in that situation is an AWP, and Idis Balance, well, happy to take the kill with open arms. Jota, of course, will at least be able to recover. Grabs himself a rifle. Youngster, though, goes down in the meanwhile again. A nice supporting flash. Seems to have some solid ideas. Idis Balance, having rotated that AWP over towards A, does grab another before he goes down. Smart shot from LNZ, but quickly mopping up the rest of his team. Means that there's not going to be too much to be concerned with. Dilledes will recover the AWP, so financially, little to no consequence for the CT side of 9Pandas. Just getting themselves warmed up and into this one, really starting to see them find their feet, find their individuals. Xiaofi calling a couple of nice ideas on the CT side as well. It's good to see.
Yeah, I mean, I would have preferred if Sangal just kind of backed up that AK there. Obviously, they aren't aware of the fact that it's going to be the op that they find up in the B apartments. If they knew that early on, they probably would have had everyone right behind that AK to just hunt them down as soon as he took a shot. Instead, now they're going to be fully focused on, of course, what's to come in this gun round as they take mid control. Unfortunately, they've lost B apartments in the meantime, and, well, with just one player towards under, I don't think he's going to be able to do a lot about it, even if he did hear those footsteps. At the very least, heard the flash going in deep, so he knows it's a possibility, and I think may have called for some teammates to come help him out now. This can be dangerous.
I like the initial idea. I like it from Xiaofi. He's calling a very proactive CT side. He's trying to push their buttons, but now this gets dangerous because there is a big clearance coming, and with a pop flash in, the timing could be everything. It's a 1-for-1 for Glowing. B site is wide open, but of course Sangal have nothing to indicate that other than that initial opening push from Glowing. So a 1-for-1 trade isn't a bad result at all. Xiaofi will make the rotation in towards the B bomb site, allowing 3 to stay stacked up towards A, and now it really is a guessing game for Sangal. They know they've got some control in towards the B apartments. Now they're going to go for mid. Smoke towards top con suggests that they are going to look for this short split, which would leave Xiaofi desperately vulnerable, and indeed they are. 3 players working their way up short, shifting so that Xiaofi gets no clues, but iDisbalance looks for a moment of magic through the smoke, finds his kill. Can't be backed up by the in-game leader. Dilladez goes 1-for-1 with a dink to boot to keep his team alive, and buys them a 2v2 retake that feels far more viable than it should. Bomb to go down with 20 seconds left on the clock. It's a question of where he wants to plant it. Molotov goes out. He wants to plant for short here. Well covered by his teammate. Felt dangerous, but LNZ with the Molotov in tow is able to find a chunk of damage. The HE follows up. Clack's now low. And if Jota can go 1-for-1, this should be a done deal. LNZ with all the health inside of the apartments just has to lie in wait. Jota to take first contact. iDisbalance on the clear. Finds his man LNZ to trade, but it's Clax on a recovered AWP. Swapped across from iDisbalance, who finds his shot and finds 9Pandas. They're leveling round. A bit sketchy around the edges, you have to say, but the individuals are firing well for 9Pandas.
Yeah, that was something I don't think we were really out, and we actually said Mirage, of course, in this VO was going to be where perhaps we would see them get to show that new individual skill they have pretty much across the board. I mean, I would struggle to point out a weak link on this 9Pandas roster, if I'm being honest. Seeing a very early tactical timeout here as well from Sangal. It just lets you know how serious this is. As we know, we're in the lower bracket, we're into the playoffs. Everyone's got to give us their best right now, and Sangal really feel like they're doing that, especially after such a great start with those initial 4 rounds. They had control of the game, they had a great economy, and they had the chance to really run away with that T side. And unfortunately, that's all but a dream of the past now. Instead, they're going to be fighting to see if they can perhaps come away with another couple of rounds on this T side. I think 6 would be a pretty good goal. You at least have rifles, of course, to work with here. I don't think going fully in on everyone. It doesn't look like getting pistols in Kevlar where they can, giving themselves a decent chance in this round, sure. They're focusing mostly on this next, and then maybe even still aiming towards 7 if possible. Getting a run boost. The 1AK getting thrown out mid. No one to challenge, unfortunately, so yeah, not really a lot going to happen from that. Instead, most of the presence towards Palace is going to find a pretty decent setup here with the player tucked in towards Sandwich. Also with a bit of assistance from CT and also Jungle.
3-man stack right on the site that Sangal are looking to hit. Xiaofi seems to have their number at the moment. Nice HE as well. Some good chip damage there. Goes Dilladez. Xiaofi there to back his man up. And just like that, any hope of a bomb plant is mopped away. The 2 remaining players in towards Con, looking for damage, and well, X-Cloud will rip the head off of Clax to start things off. They know where at least one is. Xiaofi finds that trade a little delayed, but the spray is good. And well, for LNZ, last man up, trying to get anything he can, but it's just not happening. 9Pandas seem to be reading this CT side beautifully at the moment. Xiaofi brings some lovely ideas, and well, it's putting Sangal on the back foot. I mean, youngster 0-7 is not where you want to see him, and it just feels like the CT side are pushing Sangal's buttons a little bit on the T side, right? They're not letting them settle. They're not letting them find their pace every time. They're getting caught by something. There's an idea, a challenge. Every time they get these rifles out, they're having to think a little more than I think they'd like to.
Yeah, that was a bit unfortunate for Sangal. Xiaofi in particular, who has been a thorn in their side with these aggressive plays, and well, this time around it's the op of iDisbalance who decides to swap it up. Perhaps they were expecting a right play and take an early fight. No. The up instead that presses the issue, and he's looking for more. He did not give up. A nade in towards that window opens it up for him to take the fight against Samyo, and well, he went ahead and put a initial advantage into a 5-on-3 now at this point. Sangal, sure, they have some mid control, but even then, it's not being given to them for free. There's more utility being tossed through. They're forced to wait it out. And it seems like 9Pandas, despite this advantage, are willing to keep on taking some fights.
I mean, they're clearly feeling confident. Balance has played pretty much every part of the map so far in this round. He's been A, he's been mid, and now he's over towards B. Keeping that AWP mobile, keeping Sangal guessing, and while they do have this mid control, it's still a 3v5 for them to try and knit together. And where is the gap in the defense at the moment? Shoulder peek coming in. Nice tag onto Dilladez, but he's got a Molotov to slow things down. Drops it in towards the top of Con, looks for the rotate out, allows the Con control to come through. But all the while, you can see the rotations. You can see Shalfie thinking about how this one's going to pan out. Works his way into Rops. Smoke to try and cover the cross will actually potentially allow him to work his way out. They've got Clax, who will be mollied off in towards Palace. Heard on the tap as well, as LNZ does deal with Clax. And now this gets a little interesting. Xfloud on the AWP, looking to hold. It's a plant for jungle. And the T-side are well placed to deal with it. Glowing has gone round the world as well to work his way in towards T-spawn. The Shalfie and Dilladez are a little isolated. A clean shot from Xfloud on the shoulder peeking Shalfie. And this one feels like it may have just fallen by the wayside. Balance being given nothing in towards short. The AWPer desperate for impact, but as soon as he looks to move, Xfloud is there to punish. And that AWP just keeps on ringing out. Give the man a gun and he will find kills. 13-5, another triple in a critical round for Sangal. And it is going to be Glowing just looking to hold on to the M4.
I mean, it wasn't a necessity. They do have that economy, but with a couple of rounds left, and the 1-on-3, did he get 0 chance winning? He's carried that weapon forward. Sangal, though, they finally add another round to the board after, I believe it had been 5 in a row for 9Pandas at that point, and it's off the back of course, some really big plays, as we just see in there in the replay, which is something we don't normally get to experience, so shout out to the producer, Kirk of the playoffs of first. Some gnarly replays. Good. Spawn there for Balance, and I think he's been followed towards window there for perhaps some aggression towards mid. I think he's just dropping and taking that angle from Connector instead. I thought we might have seen them go for the push up, and indeed he actually is going to go for it just a little bit later, and he's not going to land this shot. The flick is just a small bit off. Unfortunately, that's going to be punished, and well, Sangal again have themselves an early advantage in this round. And it's going to force the issue. 9Pandas, they decide they don't want to wait around. Shalfie is the one again who is feeling that confidence. This time, though, he is not going to have any success in taking back mid. It's a 5-on-3. A decent nade in the round right there. Might give Clax a chance to turn it around. Okay. The second kill found in towards middle. I was going to say gives them a good position, but that jump up towards Palace, again, flips it back in Sangal's favor. And well, there isn't a lot that 9Pandas can do when they're being encircled pretty much at that point.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see the consequence of having such a fresh in-game leader, right? It feels like they're trying to push it a little too much when it starts to go wrong. Like when they're doing it in the 5-on-5s and the ideas are solid and they're working, it's great. But then in that mid-round, there's a couple of 1v1 picks that probably didn't need to be taken. Shalfie just hoping to play a timing on short, gets a little caught out, and then Clax does magnificently to hold the spray to find the transfer for the first kill, but then just goes jumping, looking for a fight into Palace. Could have done with staying alive, buying a little bit of time for his teammates. It's not got 9Pandas though. They continue to want these fights, to want this aggression, and it's Glowing working his way around that top mid smoke. LNZ very passive as they can look to just waterfall out of the Palace. A dinkle to the second man from Clax, but again a missed shot from Balance, and surely that's going to come back to haunt them now. Shalfie, low on HP, does well to deal with Youngster. They're desperately trying to find anything at all, but there's LNZ flanking out of mid to deal with Shalfie. Xfloud again chiming in with a big kill. And this one, it's a done deal. 7-5, a beautiful recovery towards the death of the first half for Sangal, and really all to play for. a scrappy first half, it's safe to say, but it is Sangal who find themselves in the ascendancy. 7-5, their T-side flying, but that has been the way for this roster and this organisation for quite a while. CT has traditionally shown problems, but, well, this one looks like a solid anti-strat. As 9Pandas look to set themselves up for the A play, there's 3 players here. 1 fast rotate in for mid, and well, Xcloud is starting where he left off. 2, 3, 4 quick headshots. He's on for the ace. Finally, Shalfie puts him down, but it's irrelevant. Jota is there. The swing is instantaneous, and Xcloud from the top of the stairs boosts his KD to 3, and it's pretty much single-handedly the reason that 9Pandas are losing this map right now. That's gonna sting. You could see the idea as well. 9Pandas, it looks so solid, but Xcloud just continues to swing the top of the stairs, cares not for your flashes, cares not what is in his way. All he cares about is hitting heads, and that's exactly what he does. Force buy rejected by the 9Pandas. Of course, without that bomb plant, with the new economy as it is, it's a very tough place to go. So opting not to, instead just a couple of P250s for Idis Balance and Shalfie. See if maybe they can strip away a rifle from what is a very heavy-handed second round buy from Sangal. A little cautious as the triple nade goes in towards Under. They've clearly done their homework. 3 M4s are FAMAS. Youngster, the only one looking to farm cash on that MP9 over towards B. Won't really be tested here. Instead, it's a pop from the underpass. Samey, the man they're potentially looking to isolate here. In a pretty decent position, though. As they start to try and apply the pressure. Glowing takes a dink through the wall. Xcloud is there to continue his killing spree. Samey gets 1. He's traded out by the P250 of Idis Balance. That's what they were looking for. Something, but they're feeding the beast again. It's another quad kill for Xcloud. He continues his reign of terror. And Sangal are well on the way to converting their map pick, Dean.
Yeah, I mean, Nuke up next is one that I think can, as we said, is kind of still up in the air. It wasn't a great map for 9Pandas before, but now with the changes and having gone in with the pick, they've got to have something up their sleeve. But it's certainly a map that Sangal can play, and if they're able to run away with this momentum here in the second half, if we don't see 9Pandas come alive like they did back on their CT side, there definitely could be some trouble. Towards the top of mid. There's one player, I believe, there that's been forced out of position, and actually, yeah, quite a lot of damage done on towards Shalfie. No kills to be taken off the back of it. They tried to, I believe, take that peek from window. Instead, it's going to be in towards ramp, where again we see aggression. Klax drops the molly, decides he didn't really want to take the fight, at least not initially, but he goes back in for it. And, well, despite the damage that had already been done on the Xcloud, wasn't quite able to get the finish, so it's an early advantage again to Sangal.
Oh, fluffing their lines as well. T-Smoke hits a T player. Doesn't quite land where they'd want it to. And in the 4-on-5, they've got the mid control here, 9Pandas. But not quite sure what they want to achieve with it yet. Sangal taking a leaf out of the 9Pandas CT side as well. That early push into the ramp, dinking up Klax, putting him in an awkward spot. Able to find the conversion off the back of it. And with 50 seconds left, a molly and a flashbang is all that 9Pandas have at this point. Glowing knows he's got to hit some headshots and does so. Occupies the window, and now the A-side split is on. There's a late lurk from Xcloud, but he's dinked up. It has to be Jota, and it is. All 3 kills as they wander on in. Glowing, the only man to get anything done in this round for the 9Pandas, does double his account. But a 1v3 to contend with, 30 seconds on the clock, had to go back to mid, wasting precious seconds trying to recover that bomb. And knows that if he's got any chance of getting back into this round, he needs to find a kill. Can't try the plant. No utility to back him up. Picks up a little bit more, but as he crawls through the murder hole, LNZ gives it, well, exactly its name. A clean kill, a clean round, double digits on the board for Sangal. And as the timeout comes in for 9Pandas, Dean, they are starting to run out of time to show us what their T-side is about here.
Yeah, I like the taking a leaf out of 9Pandas, but trying to play on the fact that it's pretty much all they eat. Or is it just one of those things you say that just manages to work in this case? Because I've done those a lot, and you congratulate me on them, and I always take credit. So. Yeah, I mean, this is getting real bad for 9Pandas. They had that stretch of 4 rounds where they showed what they were capable of, where Shalfie in particular was finding a lot of success, not only with his calls, but with being able to back that up then with the individual skill to pull off the double, and in one case even a triple kill when they were piling out Palace, of course. But unfortunately, it seems like overall Sangal seem to have it together a little bit more. The trades are much more efficient, and even then they still have individuals who are stepping up. Sure, it's a little bit more focused, as you can see on the likes of xCloud and even Joe, who just had a spectacular round as well, but they're still making it work. That is the main thing. Youngster and Sam just kind of chilling at the moment.
Had a rough first half, but they've not really been needed coming into the second.
Yeah.
xCloud has just been a one-man wrecking ball. I mean, that's what he's there for. Perhaps got a bit of a point to prove after being dropped from that Eternal Fire roster.
Thought he was going to get caught from under there for a moment. Timing didn't work out for 9Pandas.
Footsteps heard as well. The information's there. They want this mid control, 9Pandas, but Sangal are fairly willing to give it up. Trusting their setups on the CT side, xCloud has wandered his way from Con in towards window, just holding for any kind of aggression. And again, it looks like 9Pandas do want this pop into the A site. They've left Clax lurking out of Palace with the Deagle. 4 remaining players in towards Con for the split. But with 1 smoke and 1 flashbang left, how do you get into this? You can see Jota close to the ramp. xCloud in jungle. Samey top a ticket, but he can drop to CT at a whim. Jota is watching for this Palace lurk as well. Top Con smoke comes out. They want to get into window. They want to pressure, but xCloud is here, and xCloud is surely ready for this. He's spotted out. It's a nice little peek, and iDisbalance takes advantage of his teammate to get the kill, but Samey is still here. And with a quick double kill, he's dealt with the Palace flank. He's dealt with the first of the players who wanted to work their way over towards A through Con. And now it's a rapid redirection for the 9Pandas, but it's right into the crosshair of LNZ, who on low HP will do the job regardless. Teammate there to back him up. Smooth as you like. The Sangal setup is just spectacular at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I did go with Sangal as my prediction. Sure, it's still early days here. It's the first map out of potentially 3, but I've got to be honest, when I went with them as my prediction, I wasn't really expecting things to go quite this smoothly. As I said, in that stretch of 4 rounds, we haven't really seen a lot from 9Pandas, and sure, this isn't their map choice. This is the choice here of Sangal, but we said this is where perhaps the individuals could shine, where they could get themselves warm for this best of 3, but it seems to be happening. We don't know if Nuke is going to be an amazing map for them to try and start meshing together either, so we'll see how things go. I think a few rounds here at the very least would be nice, start turning things around, and maybe see if they still have something to say here on Mirage. Unfortunately, that doesn't look likely. It's xCloud again, who just cannot be stopped. He's 28-8 right now, and Sam is like, hey, I want a few kills at least. Let me try and get at least close to an even KD on this one. He's happy as long as they win, of course, but he wants some of the scraps. xCloud can't have it all.
Wow, tell him that. 28-8, and it does just feel like the fundamentals have gone a bit missing for 9Pandas on this T side. Those kind of multi-kills have to be traded at this level. iDisbalance and Dilladez left to try and pick up the pieces after what was a relatively promising first half. Felt like there were some nice ideas, some good executions, the individuals firing well. It has turned on a sixpence. xCloud continues his reign of terror. iDisbalance last up, seems fairly determined just not to die to him. xCloud wandering out the mid smokes as he is just brimming with confidence in the V5, wants to try and deny this AWP saved. LNZ pressuring through the B apartments will be the first test for iDisbalance. The timing's ugly, but he hits a nice shot. Takes out his first man, and you can see the CT scrambling to try and get themselves in position to kill this guy. 20 seconds on the clock. They may do well just to let him wait until time's up and then really start to hunt this. With just $100 to his name, if they can kill him after time, that would be absolutely tragic. Pressure's on, the jump spot tries to draw the crosshair away. Jota is on the flank instead. xCloud, no! Nobody ever hits anything with that wallbang, and of course that's how he brings up the 30 bomb. Can't be doing that. And again, look at this. That trade just has to come through. Glowing has to connect that kill. His in-game leader goes down. No trade to be found. And from there, they're just mopping up the scraps. They really are. xCloud, yeah, that's just the icing on the cake. Really describes how this map has gone for the 9Pandas. I mean, we did say it, right? We did say this is a very strong map for Sangal. It's not a great map for the 9Pandas traditionally. Hoped that maybe because it is one of those puggier style maps, there would be some kind of room for them to get meshing, get some of those individuals firing off. But at the moment, it's patently clear whose individuals are firing off, and it's not the 9Pandas.
Yeah, I mean, it was up there as 9Pandas' third most played, yeah, third most played map, and they had pretty decent statistics on it. And again, it's Mirage. Everyone can play Mirage pretty much. So you think bringing in one new player might not disrupt things too much, but when it's a new player alongside a new coach, and that player and coach have worked together for a long time, they're going to have a lot of ideas and things they want to do that you probably just haven't had the time to actually get to yet. So it is unfortunate
that way.
Yeah, because you can see the ideas, but everything's timings and such working each other maybe like half a second out of sync, and that's something that Sangal can punish, and have been punishing. Xcloud in particular has been punishing.
Yeah, the amount of multi-kills he's got are just absurd, if we're honest.
Oh.
Timing.
Almost awkward.
Gonna try and wander out of Palace Hill again. Jota is beautifully positioned to deal with this, and just a drive-by spray finds connection. Clax and I disbalance, trying to steady the scales a little bit. They've found themselves a man advantage for the first time in forever here, and they're going to double it. Dilladez deals with another youngster's position known based on that vent breaking, and 9Pandas aren't going to bow out of this without a single T round. Catching youngster on the rotation is Shalfie. They will start to post something. Again, very, very scrappy though, right? Not clearing the angle on Jota, giving him a free kill. He's able to wander into a double spray down without the trade coming through. And because it has been such a dominant second half so far from Sangal, they are going to be buying almost immediately. Straight back onto the rifle, straight back, looking to shut this one down before it gets too awkward. No AWP for I Disbalance either to try and tip the scales. As it's going to be a mid-aggression from Sangal. In fact, it's going to be under. Two players working their way in. Can look to boost up from that position. Xcloud smoke might give them an alley to exit as well. Instead, Sammy just going to stay scoped in towards the underpass, not to be tested anytime soon. LNZ's his man to back him up, maybe even aggress further. Timing on this is going to be everything. Glowing's working his way down and does get the freebie. Now Sammy is in no man's land, and Glowing doubles up beautifully. Xcloud trying to do what he can to wrestle this round back for his team. Does deal with I Disbalance in mid. The rest of 9Pandas have started to pod and proc an unoccupied A bomb site here. Jota's watching towards mid with Xcloud as well. The smoke towards top con, keeping them covered for now. There's a huge amount of timing here. Dilladez has just passed by Xcloud. And Jota starting to burn alive. Feels like a very tough position for Sangal to really get anything done from here. A 3v4 retake. Xcloud desperately spamming, but the counter spam is just a little bit better. Shalfie finds his man through the smoke, and that's going to be a save almost immediately. Youngster, yep, grabs Samy's AWP, works his way out of the underpass. Jota shifts back from CT and let the hunt begin.
Yeah, again, it's good to see 9Pandas starting to wake up, but is it a bit too late is the question. Done some success a little bit earlier on back in the previous half, and even then it managed to still end on. And well, this half they just can't afford to drop any more rounds. Of course, it needs to be flawless. Youngster trying to save that off is only going to get away with the one kill, leaving Jota to receive an M4 in the next round. And well, it is going to be carried forward. He didn't seem too inclined on doing so. He was willing to take a fight if it came to him.
Felt risky,
like, yeah,
didn't
whatever.
it?
Yeah, I mean, their money is kind of iffy. I mean, they might try and pull it together here, actually. Could get the rifles, but considering it's 12-7 and they just don't really need to press the issue, I do prefer that they're not going to push it. Get some pistols. They still have an M4, perhaps with an early dig or two being landed here, they can maybe even still steal away the round. Wouldn't count on it, but at the very least, it means that they're going to have everything they need in this following round. Let's see what he can find. Nates the away, and the spam doesn't quite work out, unfortunately. Tiny bit of damage connected, but all that happens is he eats an AK bullet to the head.
Xcloud will work his way around to recover that rifle. The one player that 9Pandas probably don't want to have it. Sammy forced out by the Molotov, cleared out by Clax, and this is better. This is more like it from 9Pandas. LNZ does get one, but it's very swiftly dealt with. The trades are looking solid. Youngster on the Deagle can't get anything done, and Xcloud, well, he's got this rifle. He's hoping to be allowed to do something with it, and as I say, it's better for 9Pandas. They do realise they've left the bomb in spawn as they've taken the entirety of the A bomb site. Glowing though, he's just going to get the kill. Save them their blushes. Could see a world there where if Xcloud gets that first kill, there's an isolated fight on site, the bomb's in no man's land, and it gets a little ugly, but as they take their second time out, Sangal not quite able to find the conversion. always a tough shot over the top of those Molotovs, even with the latest update. It never feels like you can fully see what you're doing, and it very much felt that way for xCloud.
I'm starting to get a little bit worried here for Sangal now. This is going to be,
nervous.
at the very least, a massive knock for their confidence moving on towards Nuke. It's going to be slightly worrying. I'm surprised they did. Obviously, things had been going pretty well, but we're only seeing their second pause now. I think we saw their first one on round 8. I wouldn't have minded if they called in that pause maybe before that previous gun round even. But either way, taking it now. They still have another one in the reserve if it becomes necessary, but obviously the hope is to try and put an end to this right now. Same has his off, and well, Samey has his off. Pretty good utility across the board as well, so there's nothing really lacking at all. No excuses to not try and put the nail in the coffin here. As a pretty standard round comes out, actually very heavy on mid right now. I think looking to try and press the issue on short, which could be an issue for LNZ. xCloud is towards connector, someone they've had trouble dealing with, so they are going to send Shalfie through with those smokes to see if he can make sure, of course, that he doesn't push through and stop the short push. As so much damage, as you said, has been done already. It gives LNZ a massive chance with that A4 as he holds his ground and puts a stop to 3 of them. Sure, it's with a lot of assistance, but they make somehow cleaning up that round right there, keeping 4 alive and finally putting a stop there to what could have been a very scary comeback, I've got to say. 9Panda, I liked what they were getting, how things were starting to click towards the end there, but as we said, with Nuke coming up next, I'm still a little bit worried despite it being their map choice. Yeah,
it felt, again, even in that round, look, the ideas were there, right? The little moments were there. The individuals were finding their feet, but it just didn't quite connect at the critical moment. They looked to up the pace into that short hit, and it just doesn't quite land. And as you see here, it's just a couple of isolated fights. The 1v1s, it's just not quite working out for them in the way they'd want. It's just not quite there, is it? And this spray down from LNZ as well. This is just disgusting. Beautiful little triple. Same's there to back him up. And yeah, I think it was a case of new in-game leader, new coach, right? They've not been together for long enough. The ideas were there. The individuals just not quite as attuned to how Shalfie wants them to play. The trades not quite as prompt as they should be. The utility not quite as sharp, right? It was all of those sort of 1% differences that do make the big difference. And especially when Sangal have got a player like xCloud who is just absolutely flying, and every time they give him the opportunity of a multi-kill, he takes it.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a two-way street, because if xCloud wasn't playing so well, then I think probably would have had a different game on our hands, but also xCloud was only playing so well because of those little mistakes that were being made. He was being given a second or so between the fights, given the chance to isolate them perfectly. As you said, those trades were just a little bit off, and I think with time we definitely will see that improve massively. Even just a few days of practice can make a massive difference in that regard. As you said, I think the ideas were there, but it's more the mid-round calls when they need to make an adjustment, when they need to react to what Sangal are throwing at them and react to xCloud killing 3 of their teammates. That's when things really were starting to kind of get hectic and spiral out of control for them. So as I said, I do think Nuke now is going to be a tough one. That's another one where that in-game leader is really going to have to hunker down and, well, hopefully now show us a different side to the team.
Yeah, and look, our Kidia player to watch for this one was Shalfie. Probably should have been xCloud coming into map 1. I mean, Shalfie didn't have a bad game by any metric, right? As an in-game leader, he was way up towards the top of the scoreboard for the team. You can see the stats there. It's sort of acceptable stats in a loss. There's nothing particularly bad there, but realistically, xCloud 160 ADR looked just completely night and day. He was absolutely everywhere, absolutely lights out, and Shalfie is never going to be the player to compete with that, right? That's not what he's here for. He's here as the in-game leader who frags. He's not here as the superstar. So a little unfortunate for him on that first map that some of the ideas didn't quite come off and some of the connections didn't quite hit, but potentially heading into Nuke, he's got some ideas of his own. Obviously, it's the map that they've picked, so you've got to imagine that they've spent a bit more time working on it, right? They've spent a bit more time trying to make sure that those little half mistakes aren't made and that they've got a more solid idea of how they want to play. And it is a map they're comfortable on, right? It's a map they play a decent amount, so you've got to imagine the individuals are just going to be a little bit more dialed in, really.
Yeah, I mean, I still think our Kidia player to watch is one that we do have to keep our eyes on. with Nuke being such a crucial map for the in-game leader, as well as hopefully needing him to frag as he did in those first kind of 4 or 5 rounds there on Mirage as well, because that was incredibly promising. And well, we'll see if that's something they can convert. Now, I believe we are just ready to go ahead and throw it on over to a break. Of course, when we come back, we're going to have Nuke, and who knows, maybe Anubis afterwards if we do manage to get the full 3 maps out of this series.
Well. Mirage was xFloud's map. Will it be the same on Nuke is the question. And it's a big question to be asked as we are just about ready to get into the pistol. xFloud, you've got to imagine, going to struggle to have quite the same level of impact on Nuke. It's tough to put yourself in the right position frequently, as it's going to be the B drop from 9Pandas on the pistol. Already working their way into the lower site, and who's there to meet them but xFloud, already dinked up on the initial engagement this time, however. Plenty of CTs here ready and waiting. They want the fight, but they're not quite being given it at the moment. Two players, both Clax and Ibis, balance on flanks as xFloud deals with one and Youngster deals with the second. Well put to bed, as now it is just the three remaining site players. Shalfie, Diladez and Glowing to try and lock this one down. Pop flash through the smoke. Glowing is ready and waiting for it, however, and now this starts to get a little sketchy. Youngster doing what he can, doubling up as Shalfie last alive, nothing to do. Jota on the Julies gets the job done well, and well, that's a hell of a way to get your account opened. Youngster with a triple on the pistol after a disappointing Mirage, and it's Sangal who start their CT side with a victory on Nuke.
Yeah, that's what I was going to specify. Obviously, we had said Youngster and Samey weren't having great games on Mirage. Partly because they weren't getting much of a chance. xFloud was always the one getting up in the face of the opponents, taking initial kills. They'd have advantages then where Youngster and Samey would just have to sit back and make sure they didn't throw anything away and be there to lock down sites and such. And a lot of the time, by the time they would find a fight, it'd be a trade that they ended up getting. So Youngster and Samey were maybe a little bit annoyed about their individual performance on that previous map, and Youngster at the very least has come in early swinging here to show what he can do. Of course, we get a very early pause, an immediate tactical from 9Pandas. They're like, okay, this isn't great. We lost the first map, now we've lost the pistol round here on our T side of Nuke as well. This could be troublesome if we let things spiral out of control early on. So let's just have a little bit of a chat, see what way we're going to approach the round now with this force buy that of course is coming in, and it's got a couple of Galils and decent utility, so I don't mind this. But of course, if this goes south, Sangal at that point likely get a 3-0 lead, and then at that point that first gun round is just so heavy.
It felt like they weren't 100% sure if they wanted to force as well. Obviously the new economy does mean there's some changes to it. You can't see everyone with Galils, so taking that time out, it's a big swing round. This opportunity to hard reset the CT economy. You don't get many of those anymore. Heavy rifle buy, of course, from Sangal, knowing that they did concede the bomb plant, so there is every possibility of the force coming into this one. As Samey's scout rings out early, a tag onto Shalfie to start things off. Allowing xFloud the positioning as well. He knows that Shalfie likely has dropped off based off that damage being converted. So xFloud works his way round to red. It looks like they are going to rotate that rifler. Try and give him as many opportunities as possible to find impact. Loses the scout of Samey, but the trade is instant. Now the four remaining T players, they look to barrel in. Jota, good damage to start things off. Calls in for the support lines to be ran. It's an ugly old spray from Youngster, however, and that does leave this lower site player just a little bit isolated. Does well, however, deals with the first. Now he can call upon the FAMAS, who has been dinked up LNZ. Has to be a little bit careful. This is still a little bit sketchy. Jota's spam a little bit mistimed, and those small mistakes we saw from my 9Pandas are starting to creep the other way here. Clax wants to get that bomb down. Plant slightly visible to the swing, and well, Jota and xFloud mean it's irrelevant either way. Quickly mopping up those remaining kills, and the only man who goes down did only have a scout. So it's not a bad result at all for Sangal, but it could have been so much worse, Dean. It felt for a split second like 9Pandas might have some control of that situation.
Yeah, with the initial, I mean, even just the one kill onto the scout towards outside was a decent find, even with the immediate trade. Then they forced the player back down the ramp. It looked like they were going to at the very least get that control around ramp pretty early on and maybe have the chance of getting the trade. But then we seen that wild spray that looked really bad. It seemed like a bad idea from that player from Hell, but the fact that he stayed alive, managed to keep that spray in and just stop those players for even just a second or two, I think it was, having able to actually follow down ramp, that worked out perfectly. It allowed the player in towards the window room to take that kill with no one ready for the follow-up, and with that then of course rotations were on the way, and the B-bomb site was just too stacked for 9Pandas to really do anything about winning the round. Obviously the bomb plant was a nice addition, but it does still leave them with just some pistols and Kevlar here. It's the next round that they're fully focused on. A couple of kills would be nice to find though.
Excellent, getting going. Early kill towards outside.
Has he ever stopped is the question.
That is the question. How do 9Pandas stop him? Feels very much like a classic face it round this. Send the pistols out. Everyone go peek. See if you can get a kill. Shalfie wandering out with the deagle. X-Valve playing a bit of an off angle towards blue. Shalfie is actually going to be boosted up top of red. Still not going to see anything though. Samey swings towards outside, gets himself the kill. Can reset, just bait them into X-Cloud if he wants to. Instead, he's going to take the kills all for himself. And Dilladez's P250 won't find anything. Clean round from Sangal. And that's, I mean, it's one of those rounds where you can sort of write it off as a bit of nothing. But realistically, there was some investment there. There was some upgraded pistols. They would have liked to have seen a kill or two, 9Pandas. They would have liked to have seen some damage, done some work to the CT economy. Because right now, it is really starting to build up. And we're only 3 rounds into the half.
This is the first real chance though for 9Pandas, so I don't want to judge the initial few rounds too harshly, but it really is now or never. They need to come alive. As we said, still relatively early days, but they're down a map, and while being here on the T side, you don't want to let the CTs build up too much of an early lead, of course, as common sense would tell you. Smokes on the outside, put down. Clax catching that kill. True, I believe. The smoke inside as the ones outside start to fade away with the assistance of the nade. It's going to be another entry. Everything is just going the way of 9Pandas. Sangal don't have a single response. Sure, a few of the fights nearly go their way, but that's not good enough. All 5 left standing for 9Pandas, and that is one way to say, hey, we're still here. We're here to play for sure.
There we go. Welcome to the server, 9Pandas. Individuals starting to get dialed in. Glowing and Shalfie with a beautiful round between the two of them outside, piling the pressure on. And for the first time, Sangal just misreading the situation a bit. X-Cloud caught off guard by Shalfie, top of aircon. Glowing, ready to respond to the smoke. Op takes the headshot on the chin. Of course, his AK-47 does one better. AWP out for Samey. Can't quite find the initial connection. Again, it's Shalfie looking for some ideas, and again, he's clacked through the smoke to punish early. Instant headshot. This time, it's the danger man. X-Cloud goes down. Man advantage established, and you'd think at this point, Sangal are going to have to stop spamming smokes because they are getting punished every single time they go for it.
Samey doesn't want to let that early advantage sit with 9Pandas. He's taking a big risk, and he might just catch them off guard. A second player who initially had his knife in hand just about gets the AK out, and it's actually the refrag, I believe, there from the hut that came through. This is a problem. I thought maybe even a flank could start to come in. Instead, it was Idis Balance who went back in and shut down that door push, leaving Samey alone, who nearly lined up a collateral there for a moment, but it just wasn't meant to be. It's Jota left alone. They know he's around this A-bomb site as well, so they can just avoid him at this point. Maybe even take that bomb down ramp if they... Maybe they don't know, because they're still watching for the ramp push. I thought he made his position pretty evident.
They seem a little unsure. And he has managed to work his way towards outside now, so there's a bit of a timing on this. But realistically, 4v1 should be job done. 9Pandas starting to show us a little more of what they're about. Those individuals starting to fire off. The passive default's working out well for them as Jota start to work his way into heaven. He's heard Glowing drop down beneath him. So he knows he's got a relatively free entry to the site, and he knows that his position's relatively unexpected. Grabs himself an early kill. Glowing will double back towards Hell. Try and make sure that rifle's stripped away. Shalfie towards outside will rain the spray in and get it done. Lovely stuff from the 9Pandas. I mean, it's a little unsustainable from Clax. That's 2 rounds where he's opened things up through a smoke, but off the back of that, aggression, understandable from Sangal, but well punished by the 9Pandas. They seem aware of what's coming their way. Definitely looking a little more comfortable, you have to say, on the T side of Nuke than they did the T side of Mirage.
Yeah, no pistols even really to be afforded here, as you can see for Sangal, so 9Pandas should have an easy enough time. That streak of 4 rounds they had back on Mirage were pretty solid in terms of being able to build up the economy. They need to do that again here on Nuke, and well, they've already got a decent foundation starting to build up beneath them right there, as you can see. So 5 surviving in this round would be absolutely perfect. It would give them that buffer zone for if they were to lose a couple of rounds, which is always nice to have. Warehouse control being taken. Not being super quiet about it as they are throwing out utility, but it was a ramp stack coming in either way from Sangal, so they aren't really sure of what's going on.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, this. Clax is playing very passively. They know all this is potentially open, but there's a game of timings here. Flax has heard the footsteps. Here we go. Time to farm up some kills for the AK. Grab himself an early double. Make that a triple, and this is exactly what Clax is here for. Just to make sure there is no funny business, no backstabs outside of spawn, and well, he's on for the ace, and he'll grab it as well. Lovely stuff from Clax. Well managed on those fights. You've got to say, Sangal maybe could have done with peeking more than one at a time, looking for a double swing. They did sort of feed the man a little bit, but that round was never going to be much of anything, so it's gone, and Sangal have their opportunity now to try and land a punch in response. Buy will come out. It won't be perfect. Utility a little slim. Lack of diffuse kits as well as I scan down, which can be a major problem on a map like Nuke. You can't always stop the T-Sar from getting into one of these bomb sites. What will 9Pandas look to do this time? Early pop flashes towards the A site, early outside control, and xCloud is looking to have some impact here. Crept up red. Glowing has no idea he's here, and well, he's heard a second step, footsteps, but his AWP doesn't back him up at all. Samey with what should have been a simple shot. Can't find the conversion, and neither can Youngster. The trades have gone out the window for Sangal. Should have been solid. Instead, it's a disaster zone. Only a single kill found onto Glowing by xCloud. Just everybody losing sight of the bigger picture there. Nobody finding their shots. Nobody finding their trades. Disaster for Sangal. That's the rifle buy gone in the wind in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, this has really begun to spiral out for Sangal. I think they might want to start using some of those pauses before this next gun round. This time it's not here. They don't have to Nico. I'm sure they have some pistols, but if he feels that their main goal this next gun round is when they need to start winning out some rounds again for themselves. Otherwise, it is going to be big trouble. Again, though, 9Pandas, I'm not expecting them to find too much difficulty in taking this round home. I think quite passively as well, maybe expecting this aggression. I like that we're seeing heavy presence there around Secret. I think they've also got a player in Warehouse. Indeed, they do an xCloud, so it's a solid setup if it was the side creep. Unfortunately, that doesn't really look to be the plan for 9Pandas. Instead, heavier presence towards inside, knowing that they're really not up against rifles most likely, so just not wanting to really make that first move.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace. Have consistently been abusing outside, so they've patterned Sangal into the idea that it would happen again. Not to be this time. Instead, the creep into the upper site. There's two players ready and waiting to receive. I mean, a 5-7 at this kind of a range does have potential to do some work, and indeed he does. Deals with Idis balance. A little ugly now as Samey's USP chimes in with one more. Up close and personal, the Deagle of Jota goes for a double, and surely not like this. 9Pandas have looked so damn solid, and now it has fallen apart at the seams. Out CT vent is Glowing. A laboured spray, not quite finding the connection it wants, and there is so much presence there to trade the HE down. Sangal with a round out of absolutely nothing. As you said, Dean, they were setting up for an outside idea. They wanted to be pushed outside, and instead, as they walked into upper, 9Pandas into the jaws of death. 5-7 gets one. USP trades out clean. And from there, all of that outside presence just swarms through the garage and makes their life a nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it. I said no need for a pause or anything before that round because they weren't expecting much to come of it. Instead, they end up stealing it away, and well, I can hear lots of little clicks there in the chat as they're talking away to each other. Maybe some trash talking, maybe like good round, or you know, the standard MM response where you go to. Kid. 9Pandas, though, they had taken those previous 4 rounds in such a decisive fashion that really doesn't impact the economy in all that big of a way. Jota with the initial kill, though, through smoke and the wall. I'm not sure exactly where that went down. Either way, they're going to be happy with the early advantage. Make that advantages now as a second frag goes their way. It's Sangal who, again, are finding some life on this CT side. And I think 9Pandas are really going to start beating themselves up about how that previous round went down if it does cause this spiral.
xCloud in a good position to get information. He's a little isolated though. He's heard some of his steps, but now with the flashbang out, he is in no man's land. Players all around him, nothing he can do except go down. Sangal need to be a little careful here. They've got the man advantage, but they are spread out. There is some big swings to be taken here on the T side. Glowing does go down to Jota. Now he's got to be aware of the B ramp. Little does he know the entirety of the remaining T side force is outside. Jalfi wants to fight hell. Jota gives it to him, and Dilladez, while he gets one onto Youngster, the trade is instant. And this is feeling very similar to Mirage now, Dean, because initially Sangal were hot, then they went off the burner a little bit, didn't quite find themselves where they wanted to be, and found that resurgence. And off the back of Pistol's success, it feels like they're resurging again. A couple of big opening kills going their way, and from there, just trading down efficiently.
Yeah, I believe the economy still is there for at least a couple more rounds, but not really all that many rounds to go, so Sangal just keep on taking them one at a time. Then we'll take 4.5 potentially, which would be a good recovery after a bit of a stagnation there towards the middle of the half, of course. Outside control looks to be the play this time around. Already 4 players up close and personal as they want to, well, it seems like maybe cross the secret, but there's also a couple players closer to that smoke, so I was wondering if they wanted the challenge towards main. It doesn't seem like it. Instead, the up down in secret is going to find fight. 4 players coming his way. This is going to be difficult to deal with. Takes the initial frag, falls back now to find himself a new angle to see if there's any more to take to the grave with him. And actually, he seems to have done enough to persuade them to go elsewhere, with an entry also going their way.
Keen.
Yeah.
Swung a bit too wide. iDisbalance able to punish, and that outside control still causing problems for the CT side of Sangal. LNZ is in a tough spot here as well. There is timings all over the shop for him to try and contend with. He's called in support from the ramp. Jota, a step made as he clears out hell. Samey there with him. He is looking to be this A-site split, and they've read it well, Sangal, but they're not finding their kills, and that's going to cause huge problems now. Youngster close inside of the site. iDisbalance deals with everyone around him, and LNZ, he's been in mini this whole time, and he can't finish his meal either. 9Pandas just disassembling off the back of that outside control, and you have to say it felt like a misstep from xCloud there. Samey did very well, got his initial kill, fell off the angle, kept them busy, could have gone for more. But with xCloud getting perhaps a little too aggressive, iDisbalance was able to trade it out. That led back to the outside control, that led to the A-site split, that led ultimately to the round going against them. Hero becomes the villain arc, Dean?
Potentially. This is a tactical pause, at least. Initially, I thought this is used 0 out of 3, so yeah, apparently it's actually a technical. I was a little bit confused because there was no timer going down or anything either, so I wasn't certain. Yeah, tied back up at 5-5. I like the back and forth we're getting, but it is, I think, 9Pandas who want to try and end this on a high note. If they can take themselves the lead here off this T side, they'll be in a good position to try and propel themselves forward and make this a 3-map series, because they have a lot of work ahead of them. Again, this is the lower bracket.
This one definitely feels more in the balance.
Yeah.
Sangal. To be honest, I don't think it's anything Sangal are doing particularly wrong. It just feels like 9Pandas are a more connected force on this T side of Nuke. They just seem to have a better idea of where they want to be and how they want to play. So those opportunities aren't presenting themselves as willingly. And xCloud, you've seen it, perhaps off the back of getting so many opportunities over on Mirage, has started to just push it a little too far. And 9Pandas, well, they're very aware of his antics. They were on the receiving end of some pretty sharp ones on Mirage. So now they are watching for it. They are aware of the possibility, and they are punishing it when it comes in. Does look like we're about ready to go again. The huddle, hopefully. Oh no, there we go. We're back paused again. But yeah, it does feel definitely like 9Pandas have got a better idea of what they want to play and how they want to play it. I suppose the real question is, what have Sangal got in the pocket on their T side? Because when we look at the stats of this, both of these teams, very similar win rates. And Sangal have actually played a lot more of it recently. Fairly even split between CT and T halves, and they've played 20 maps in the last 3 months to the 9 of 9Pandas. So you've got to imagine they've got some solid ideas, right? They've got some strats, they've got some set plays that they want to try and push the pressure back onto 9Pandas. And to be honest, if they can come out of this 6-6, even 7-5 against, I think they're still very much in the fight. A good pistol round converted cleanly. And this map is still very much anyone's game, despite it feeling like 9Pandas have been in the ascendancy for a long old time now.
Yeah, perhaps this addition of Shalfie and also Fierce is what they need to take it up to the next level. Definitely shown some promising moments here. I mean, sure, they do have a couple of moments where they hit a wall and it takes them a while to find their footing, but that's to be expected of a roster that's still only days after, of course, such a big change. I think this time we might actually be going live. I didn't want to say anything until the countdown was like nearly there, just in case we jinxed it again.
Tough force by this.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense though. They want to try and, both teams I think at this point are aiming to try and take a lead at the halftime to get that 7-5 scoreline. Sangal wanted to put it all in here and now. I know when the Pandas have the economy to keep on buying, but they're not really thinking about that right now. They want another T round immediately. Okay. Yeah, I was going to say, is he going to have this knife even ready for the kill is the question. And, well, the way that smoke worked, unfortunately, it just perfectly obscured the vision.
Felt like he went a bit early there, to be honest. 4 members of his team creeping outside. And he's gone, not loudly, but fairly aggressively into the vent. Sort of gives the game up a little bit with the smokes as well. LNZ, you can see with a good idea that it may be headed towards lower. He makes the rotation down the vent early. Now just on the headshot jump peak. Idis Balance is going to boost up. It's a really nice play, but the shot doesn't quite connect. LNZ knows what's up now, and it's just a question of how long he can survive. Lovely little flashbang out, and Samy's here to back his man up. They forced into this round Sangal, and it is paying off. Bomb down in no man's land. Nothing Idis Balance can do. Lovely round from Sangal, lovely round from LNZ as well, reading the situation to perfection and putting himself in the right spot at the right time to get the damage done.
Get used to have these replays of goal here in the Challenger League. Don't normally get them on the RD streams and such during the regular season. All over the playoffs, though, of course. The Zeus on Shalfie right now. I don't know if we'll get to see it, but it's always something I take note of when it comes into play, just in case. Smokes outside. X-Player has played the position a few times. It hasn't really been going all that well for him. He's been getting punished so far on this CT side, but no, not this time. Takes out Shalfie. A kill pretty much in sync from Sammy. It's going to put them in a fantastic position to take the lead here as the half ends. And, well, Klax isn't going to be able to do anything about it. There we go, 7-5 at the halftime for Sangal. It was getting very worrying, but towards the end, as you can see, they're able to take 4 of 5 rounds to really turn it around and, well, end it on a high note.
Another big recovery at the half for Sangal. Find themselves 7-5 up when it really felt like 9Pandas map to lose at one point. Big pistol round here, and they could be well on the way to finishing this in style, keeping their lower bracket run alive. 9Pandas won't want to make it that easy, though. 2 sets of Julies again. Armor up for Glowing and Clax. Does mean that Shalfie has got pretty much nothing to work with as he goes towards the lower site. And Sangal just playing this one passive to start. Couple of players pressing outside off the back of the smokes. It looks like they want to split in towards this B-bomb site. Couple towards Secret, 3 towards the ramp. The problem is those Julies in such a good position to do so much damage if just given the opportunity. Shalfie has rotated lower as well, so he's aware of what's come. Molotov to flush him off of his angle, and here we go. Glowing, what have you got for us, mate? The swing starts to come in. They've shouldered the Julies out, and they get nothing. Jota, instant impact. Eye Disbalance does get 1, but quickly traded away. Xcloud and Youngster combining to get 2. As suddenly, Dilladez and Clax, well, they've got a big decision to make here. They're both working their way down towards the ramp. But a ramp retake with 2 pistols against 4 is going to be ugly. So few angles for them to work with. No utility to get them into this either. At the very least, they both have armor. And perhaps the Julies and Clax can get something done up close and personal, but they've got to get there. And I think they've realised that is never going to happen. 2 players backing away, looking to save their armour into the next. And that is exactly the start Sangal would have wanted.
Yeah, this is worst case scenario really for 9Pandas. They just haven't been able to get anything going in the early parts of these halves, unfortunately. Went down 4-0 on the first map initially as well before they came alive, and then in the second half they never really had a chance to come alive at all. And I mean, it was a similar story, I think 3-0 before they started anything here initially, right? So not able to take those pistol round wins, and that really is the difference maker, because individually 9Pandas, they look okay. Everyone seems to be kind of doing their job. Over on the side of Sangal, it's a similar affair. In the previous map you had Xcloud though, who really was that difference maker. And now you've got Jota, who's playing a pretty good game as well. So I feel like Sangal, they're just giving a little bit more in each regard.
Big call to force up into this one as well. Feeling the pressure clearly. 3 MP9s, couple of pistols. Very fast-paced play, but Xcloud is so ready for it. The util coming over the top gives the game away. The flashbang, again, just half a centimetre off the mark. And the early punishment is in. Heavy stack towards inside. 2 on the ramp. 1 playing inside of the hut in Clax on that MP9, and he wants to take this fight. They want to try and press the issue. They know on the CT side that they've got to make a change. They've got to force something out of this T-side's hands, but it's just a matter of timing. Clax does manage to creep his way up the ladder. He's maybe got a backstab on here as LNZ deals with eye disbalance towards outside. The question is, how long is this backstab really good for? He's worked his way towards T-spawn, but they're working their way into the A site all the while. And as Clax starts to creep around, it's a game of timings here. He could read the whole damn play. Shalfie and Glowing have taken hut off the back of it. But is he in a position to do anything here? The bomb is working its way into the site. Shalfie with a smoke down has now given his position away. There we go. Clax gets something. A lone kill towards outside, but LNZ has dealt with Glowing. The bomb is going to go down despite the HE trading the death away. And well, Jota's just making sure they don't save anything into the next round. The MAC-10 is a monster. The AK and the MP9 go down. And what looked to be a little sketchy, the timings weren't quite right. There was a possibility. Just happens to fall into Sangal's lap. The upper sight hit, timed to perfection. And the force buy just falls by the wayside for 9Pandas. That feels huge in the context of this series.
I mean, it was a risky force buy. If it paid off, it would have given them the life that they needed early in this half and given them a chance really to get their feet back on the ground in this game, but it's not going to happen now. Instead of fully going to 10 already for Sangal. And we'll need to see 9Pandas putting up a fantastic CT side from that point forward. He's got it with the MAC-10, looking to try and build up some money. He's going to walk into a bit of an A stack though, so this could be a problem. No assistance at the moment. Waits for instead that second MAC-10 to come around from main, and well, in combo they managed to just blend all those players.
Yeah, that's a nothing round, isn't it? Nice kills on the MAC-10s. Jota really won't mind going down there whatsoever. Gets himself a fine amount of cash. Potentially gets himself an avenue to upgrade to an AK-47 as well, and this is feeling like it's it now for 9Pandas. This rifle buy, AWP in the hands of iDisbalance, rifles for everyone else. Good util on the majority of the CT side. They need to come up with an idea here. Some kind of a stop. Early smoke goes towards outside. It's the tight smoke just to try and put some pressure on. iDisbalance wants the fight towards Squeak. Jota aware he broke it open, aware of the possibility. Jump spots the angle once, does look to overcommit, and oh my goodness, xCloud, what have you done through the smokes? He calls for support. Jota there to provide, and Jota there to double up. The upper site in tatters. iDisbalance was down the vent. He's managed to escape out Squeak, and he's got support from Heaven from Glowing. That is the only thing going their way right now, and it's Glowing with a double to keep it alive. iDisbalance last up. They have a good idea where he is. Samey scoped up on it initially, now looks to get the plant down. iDisbalance, this is such a tough fight to split. Samey, though, is going to go walk in. There it is. First shot connects. Jota has been an absolute monster for Sangal so far in this second map, and he needs a big round here. Could put the final nail in the coffin of 9Pandas right here, right now. Works his way into Hut as iDisbalance works his way out of Squeak. Bomb not planted for Hut here, and that may well play to his favour as iDisbalance just looks to transfer onto the side. The timing a little bit awkward, but Jota plays it down to a T. 1v1, clutched up 11-5. 9Pandas hopes in tatters despite the heroics of Glowing.
Okay, Jota. I said he was the hero of the team here on this map so far at the half-time, but I did not expect him to start popping off so massively here on the T side as well. 19 and 8 at this point now. He's the one who gets across that line and may have just solidified their victory here because, well, again, the economy is going to be on edge, as you can see, for 9Pandas. They're forced to call in a tactical pause, and if this doesn't work, they have a similar buy, if not potentially even worse, going into the next round to try and keep themselves alive. So, yeah, this really is worst case scenario for 9Pandas. And again,
one of those.
despite going with Sangal as my pick, I'd never expected it to go down like this. I thought if they were going to take it, it would be a back and forth. We'd see 9Pandas just giving them a run for their money and making sure it wouldn't be easy, but we just haven't seen that from them.
It's one of those mega tilting rounds as well, because if xCloud didn't have a Mac 10, he wouldn't do that. And he's just flown down. Jump mini, drop someone completely off guard, just on the basis of timings alone. And the round snowballs from there. Sangal snowballing their way to what surely should be a 2-0 at this point. Nice smoke pop, nice idea. iDisbalance chews on the damage though, down to 5. His teammate smoke pop betraying him. 4 players from Sangal looking to work their way down towards Secret. A lot of presence spotted as well, so rotation should be coming through sooner rather than later. Samey takes some good damage through that smoke as well. There's a good couple of tags to work with, but once again, it's Jota just wandering out of the hut to take out a site player. Big questions being asked at the moment. The individuals, once again for Sangal. Last map it's xCloud, this time it's Jota. Just stepping up, finding their place. And an early 4v5 for 9Pandas to try and contend with. They've got a little bit of presence towards the garage. Shalfie might not be expected here. With the smoke on a good angle, he does manage to find a second dink after the initial kill. xCloud brought down low as he trades it. They need someone to step up, though, and that man is Glowing, swinging out, deals with the hero of Jota. 3 on 3. Very limited control from Sangal to work with, and Klax knows it. He's cleared out main.
Yeah, strong position here from Thor. Will at the very least be able to get one and fall back and stay alive, and actually forces the issue himself. I thought he was just going to wait and spot the cross. Does some good damage towards Youngster also, and well, now with the position towards button glowing up in Heaven to help him out, there really shouldn't be too much trouble. Damage had already been done. It's an easy finish with headshots just to ensure it either way. 9Pandas finally coming alive here and giving themselves a 6th round, but again, Sangal only need one to at the very least confirm that they've got an overtime in the bag, so 9Pandas need a flawless CT side from this point forward.
Their economy's in shambles as well. Full investment to get this one out, no AWP available. It's a relatively similar story for Sangal, so this one could be the swing that gets 9Pandas back into it. Felt much more competitive in the last round, the hero play starting to come out. What's the idea from Villager? Nice HE, they're going for a straight upper pop though, they want to press the issue on this T side. Youngster trades blind. Klax from the heavens does manage to find one, drops down, smoke pop, won't play nicely. Klax knows he's got to have a big round here from inside of the site, and he can't quite do it. Samey with the double. And they've heard the man dropping out of vent as well. And the quick trade comes in. Not even required. Samey with the triple. And Sangal just upped the pace. They've not played a fast round on this T side yet. So as soon as they do, you could see it. 9Pandas start to scramble a little bit. The flashes are good. The utility is solid. And the hero play, this time just not quite there for the CTs. 12-6 down. And we spoke about that economy being in tatters. Idis Balance is going to glass cannon and all. There's 2 FAMAS and MP9. It's an ugly old buy for 9Pandas to try and keep their hopes alive.
Worst case scenario, just a quick reset to destroy their economy. Really left them in a horrible spot here. Even the weaponry, one op, it's glass cannon. There's no nades really. There's not even a kit if the bomb does manage to get planted.
I mean, what can they even do? They've not got the util to be proactive anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, they've got the op down in secret, just maybe hoping that's where the push comes in so he can isolate the fights and negate the fact kind of that he doesn't have Kevlar, I suppose. Less likely to eat a nade right here. Jota with the initial kill already, though. He has been a monster. He was decent on the previous map, but he's come alive here on Nuke, and well, we'll see if they've got it in them to end the here and now, because a trade back from Shelfie does give a small bit of life to 9Pandas once again.
There is a flank from Dilladez in here as well. Shelfie doubles up, so the A site is pretty much closed. Big double kill from Shelfie on the FAMAS, and you can see Sangal just having to slow down, reconsider their options, now working their way in towards Heaven, and that is the one way to negate the lobby flank that's come through. Dilladez sets himself up in the hut. Xcloud will work his way in through Mini. Nice shot from Samey, and now it is all on that FAMAS. Shelfie gets a third in the round before he's taken down, buys a 2v2. A surely critical 2v2 as well. MP9 swings wide, Glowing does well, gets the kill. Molotov lands in the hole, so won't spread. And they look to group this one up. MP9 and AWP against Youngster. He's had a rough old series so far. He's got an opportunity to be the hero here. The drop down not heard and the kill not found. They will live to fight another day on the CT side, 9Pandas. Their scrappy buy comes together. Shelfie, we spoke about him being a fragging in-game leader, and he has stepped up majorly there. A big triple on the FAMAS to keep his team's hopes alive.
It's been a big part of a lot of the games that they've won, both here and back on Mirage as well.
Decision to make for Sangal here as well. Money's not great.
No, I mean, maybe just get some pistols on the players who can afford it. Yeah, Jota's going to buy a scout of all weapons. Kind of surprised by that. Been playing pretty well with the rifles. I wouldn't have minded maybe if he went for the one hero AK. I could have seen him maybe single-handedly taking over a round before. He could do it again. But yeah, I don't mind this. Make sure he's going to be there with everyone else in the next round. They've still got a good few chances to put an end to this. There's no real issue to give an inch even to 9Pandas right now. Alfie though, who stood up outside on that blue box looking for an early fight, and he finds it without too much issue. There is still a scout that I'm not sure he's 100% aware of. I think a shot may have been rattled off already as he got that initial kill. The timing though could be horrible for that scout player indeed. Jota caught off guard. Shelfie dropped the smoke, just stay alive at this point. Yeah, it's a 5-on-3. He knows it's likely someone's already recovered a scout, and well, there'll be some pistols trained on his position as well. He falls back on the assistance now of his teammate there up in Heaven.
Yeah, well set to deal with this. Lovely stuff, and that's exactly what 9Pandas needed as well. They broke the economy, a nice clean anti-eco, build up a little bit of bank. If I was Dilladez, honestly at this point I upgrade, take a full rifle. You've not got the opportunity to make a mistake anymore, but it looks like he's going to stick with it. Full buy comes out for Sangal. It's a little ugly. No AWP for Samey. Galil for LNZ. Taking the sacrifice as the in-game leader to make sure all his compatriots have got the proper firepower. What's the idea? Just one man towards outside this time. Xcloud not taking too many risks. Balance should have been spotted on that shoulder there. As Youngster through the smoke finds Clax. He's been having a nightmare through these smokes. So consistently on the receiving end of a bullet. Got a couple in the first half go his way, but in this second half it's just been disastrous. Counter spam is good onto Jota. Good damage at the very least from Glowing. Looking to make the impact, and there we go. HE follows up, levels things out at 4 apiece without anyone really seeing anyone. exactly what's required. Outside control has been conceded by the CT side, but the counter is an aggressive ramp push. And Youngster is going to be piled under pressure in towards lobby here. There is so many timings for him to be aware of, and surely nothing he can do. There it is. Glowing gets the kill. Man advantage for the CT side now. As the T's, they've slowed this right down. They want to try and get that flank in towards Heaven, but with the man advantage up, 9Pandas can just settle. They sit into their sites. They've got control of lobby. They don't even have to play a site if they don't want to. Samey tries to shoulder peek into eye disbalance, punished immediately, and this one feels like it's starting to fall apart. Eye disbalance, perhaps a little isolated inside of the site, is perhaps the one thing you could say against this setup, but he plays it to perfection. Drops off through the squeaky door, resets his angle. That bomb is still outside Mini, stopped by the Molotov. With 20 seconds left, there really is no more time for this T side. Glowing deals with LNZ, and at this point, it's a demolition job. Much better from 9Pandas.
Xclad's a bit mad about that one, I'd say. He was so patient waiting on that offer to finally show himself. He knew he'd likely wrapped around towards the hut or was still deep in towards the door, but just waited, and by the time he finally looks back towards Heaven, he gets peeked and shot. So yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate, but yeah, I mean, a really good turnaround from 9Pandas. I was a little bit worried early on in that round for them. They managed to find success, and at this point, it's only 3 rounds that they need in order to take this to an overtime. That's very achievable on the CT side of Nuke, so you've got to start believing, especially since this one is another eco from Sangal. They've got a few upgraded pistols, just barely. No Kevlar, no utility to work with. Shouldn't see too much of a fight really being posed. Maybe just one more gun round between them and an overtime, as the pistols do find some success. A couple of kills. I mean, the damage could maybe help them here. Reinvestment's being needed, but I don't think it'll be too big of a problem, especially if they just keep the 3 alive at this point.
If they get one more, then it's really dangerous, but Jota can't quite find the connection. Samey, this is a tough angle to take a fight into, and yeah, punished for it by Dylan. There's a couple of kills, nothing too concerning though. And this may well be it now for Sangal. This is the last real opportunity they're going to have to get full rifles, and they know it. Timeout comes in. Time to really think about your options.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to have the op unless they're willing to bring it out on either Samey or LNZ. Maybe you could get one as well with just the glass cannon, but on the T side I don't think it's necessary. They might just go to full rifle setup, make sure there's they're not lacking at all in terms of utility. Hopefully finally get this over the finish line, because they've got to be worried right now. No up on the T side as expected. Idis Balance though, of course, still with his in play, although he's been very quiet. Yeah. Normally someone you'd expect up there on the scoreboard for 9Pandas.
He's had a tough map, he's been isolated well, tried to rotate that orb around a few spots, just never really had the opportunity to get it done.
Yeah. It's a tough map to op sometimes.
When you're rotating to all the wrong spots, it always feels tough. The question is, what is the idea here for Sangal? Very limited outside presence again. Just Xcloud prodding and poking, and they're waiting so passively. How many times have we seen them caught off by proactivity from 9Pandas? How many times have we seen people with their backs turned being killed? They're not having any of it this round. Slow on their approach play. Only now starting to take a minute control towards outside. It's an ugly fight for Jota, but he does get the better of Clax. And now they know more aggression is coming, but they still can't deal with it. There's so many low HP bars, and Glowing and Dilladez take full advantage. A triple in towards the lobby. Bomb down inside the lobby. How do you even begin to take this round apart and get back into it? There is so many bodies here. Xcloud, he was the hero of Mirage, and he does start this one with a kill. Dilladez goes down. Shalfie is still very isolated from the pack as well. Knows that he's got to hold for a potential flank outside to Mini. So Ice Balance and Glowing set themselves up inside of the lobby. LNZ, in-game leader, Xcloud behind him. 25 seconds left though, there's nothing they can do. They back away from it, they save. They concede 12-11. 9Pandas once again. Sangal were waiting for it. They wanted the proactivity, and still 9Pandas found a timing, found a gap. Glowing went huge. 21 kills to his name, only bettered by Jota. And Sangal have only got one more opportunity to put this to bed, and it's not going to be a good buy to do so.
No, I'd like to see them try something a little bit crazier. We haven't really seen them do much around ramp or anything, for example. Have we even seen a quick A burst? We haven't seen much of that either. It's all been defaults they've tried to play off of mostly. They've got
We've had one or two
right
towards the upper site. It really feels like lower hasn't been tested, though. You're right.
Even when they went the upper site, it was usually later and with the presence around from Mayan as well, right? It wasn't straight up burst onto the site, which is going to be near impossible right now with the amount of utility in play, but I do feel like they could probe it early on, maybe hit it a little bit later, or as you said, maybe try and get towards that lower bottom site, or at least put it in the mind of 9Pandas that they might be going there, because they seem to be pretty sure that that's not going to happen at the moment, and well, indeed, an opening kill going the way of 9Pandas here is a fantastic start to put them on track for that overtime. We weren't sure it could happen. We said take it one round at a time, and well, they will need that one now to actually make it happen. It's going to be the Molly doing tons of damage, stopping that ramp push though with a little bit of assistance rather from Hell. The Op taking another pick to extend that advantage into a 5-on-3, and 9Pandas are more than happy to just fall back down and play things passively now.
That's the two big hitters taken out the server as well. Jota and X-Flag go down. Sangal, are they going to rue their missed opportunities here? 3-on-5 to get it done in regulation. They've played a blinder here on Nuke, but it's just starting to slip away from them. Dilladez from the high ground. Schauf inside of the site itself. This is a horrid angle to clear. So they're not going to bother. They're not going to clear it. Down the vents they go. Clax up close and personal, spots the foot. Nice shot from Samey to open it up. They need more where that came from though, and Glowing can't finish his meal. Samey looking to be the hero of the hour. A big double kill, buys the 3v3. I disbalance on an AWP as well. Not ideal for the retake. LNZ gets another. Dilladez goes down. Not like this. Shalfie is tagged up. I disbalance has to switch to the pistol. So much util still available for the T side as well. As LNZ gets another. Shalfie goes. The 3v5 conversion for Sangal to finish it. As I disbalance, he's got to pull off the miracle. Can't land the first. Somehow, some way, it is Sangal who find themselves the clean 2-0 and keep their lower bracket run alive. That was absurd. A 3v5. They're two big hitters out of the server, and they scrap their way to victory, Dean.
I was almost certain we had an overtime right there. It seemed like a little bit of a, I hate to say it, but a little bit of a choke was coming in, but I think they got out-choked there at the end. A 5-on-3, as you said. Xcloud and Jota both gone. LNZ, Youngster and Samey had been quiet throughout the entire series, and they come alive when it's really needed there at the end. And, I mean, just in general throughout that game, there was a lot of very solid individual plays on both sides. That can't be negated. Even on Mirage, you had Shalfie popping off and getting some solid double and triple kills as well. But it just seemed like Sangal had it together a little bit more. Just barely here on Nuke, though.
Yeah, I honestly am a little lost for words. I think what we spoke about in the pre-game, what you spoke about when you were predicting Sangal, the sort of lack of cohesion with a new in-game leader and a new coach really came to bear there. That 3v5 conversion at 12-11 should be impossible. That should never be allowed to happen. Your CT side and Nuke, you got a two-man advantage. You've picked off the outside player. You've picked off the initial ramp play. That is done. That round is over. Write it off. Let's go to OT. And they gave them 1v1s. They gave them opportunities to get back into it. And again, it felt like the coverage wasn't quite spot on, right? Nobody had their eyes on the vent drop. So they got down vent unseen. Clax then had an awkward fight that went against him. And then they just kept dropping. They kept giving 1v1s away, giving Sangal the opportunities to get back into it, which they took with open arms because they have been electric in this series. Everyone stepped up. Everyone had their rounds and their moments for Sangal. And ultimately, small mistakes punished gets you over the line.
Yeah, and with that, I guess we can have a look at the Qiddiya player to watch. It was, of course, Shalfie that we went with. And I mean,
even
in
again,
terms of his team, he probably still was the player to watch, but you had two players, of course, over on Sangal that just kind of hit a different stride throughout this series.
Yeah, I guess the idea that I was trying to go for comes through still, right? Both maps, he's had solid impact. He's had solid ADR, good KDs. He's been in promising positions, and he's shown up with big multi-kills, right? The 3k off of FAMAS to keep his team basically in Nuke. You can see what he brings to the equation, and that was sort of what we were looking to highlight with that one to watch. It was that he is a different kind of in-game leader, and he does bring that more proactive, more aggressive style. You saw it. The problem was, couple of players didn't really step up to meet him there, and then a couple of moments didn't really match what you would expect from a team of 9Pandas caliber, right? There was a little bit of shakiness, a little bit of just miscommunication, it felt like, on missed opportunities, and all credit to Sangal. They took those opportunities with open arms, right? I mean, Xcloud on map 1 of Mirage, he's playing high fragging position, sure, but he is taking multi-kills every single time out of connector. He is absolutely everywhere. And then you go to map 2, and where it felt like suddenly 9Pandas were getting back into it, Jota just stepped up and said, right, I'm just going to have a monster here. I'm going to go absolutely huge. I'm going to consistently get openings through smokes, consistently get multi-kills, and basically keep my team alive. Well, we can take a quick look at the stats for the series as well. See what it is, see the Kidia stats for the series. And it is one of those, again, where, well, we're not going to look at the stats of the series. We'll just talk about the series anyway. We'll wax lyrical a little bit more, because the stats, I feel, tell a little bit of a biased story, right? Because you look at Xcloud, 32 and 11 on map 1. If you see a player go 32 and 11 and his team wins, you presume it's a complete stomp, right? You presume that's game over, game done, but it wasn't. 9Pandas were there or thereabouts. They had their moments, they got back in, and they kept it alive for so long. So I feel like it's one of those games where the stat lines just aren't quite the whole story, right?
Yeah, I think especially considering they just couldn't win a damn pistol round, they were pretty impressive. They had stretches of gun rounds where not only would they win the gun rounds, but they do so in amazing fashion. They'd build up a great economy, and that'd give them the room to lose some rounds and then still be able to keep on buying. The problem was, it seemed like once they'd have that streak broken, it would knock their confidence, and they just weren't able to get back onto their feet in either cases, whether it was Mirage or also Nuke, where they had a very similar kind of happenstance, I suppose, in that first half. So yeah, I mean, it was hard to watch, but I'm still very excited for how I think this team are going to play in the future. As you said, with the addition of Shalfie, we got a good idea for what they wanted today, that aggressive style where they're going to be a lot more proactive in terms of going for those plays and then making calls and reacting off of whatever happens to Shalfie, whether he gets a double kill or maybe gets a trade and then calls for his teammates to push somewhere else. It's a very active style that we're going to see on CT sides especially, I think. So I am very excited to see how that of course blends together once they're given a bit more time. At the moment, it's kind of like you have Fierce and Shalfie in one corner and then the other 4 players that are trying to catch up with them, and you probably have the IGL and the coach running ideas perfectly off each other and then trying to filter what they can actually make work in the middle of a game without having to go over anything. So that probably even just adds an extra second or two of thinking that you can't really have at this level of CS.
Yeah, exactly. You've hit the nail on the head, Dean. And on that note, we will say congratulations to Sangal, commiserations to the 9Pandas, who of course will still be in ECL, but just won't be going any further in this playoff bracket. From myself and Dean, thank you very, very much as always for watching, guys. Do make sure the A and the B stream are both still live right now, so swap the C for a B or get rid of it altogether. Go watch Aurora play 3D Max. That's just gone to a 3rd map, and Monty Paravision is very, very close to doing the same. I'm sure there'll be bangers. Alan, Grinny, Neo and Travis will take you through those. Thank you very, very much for watching, guys. Good night. bye.